A guy's life takes a nosedive when he's spending a romantic moment with his girlfriend. After they're done, Karen tells him she's going to take a shower. Yukun waits for her while she heads to the bathroom. He lies on the bed, upside down, feeling great. Staying the whole night in a hotel feels like the best thing ever to him. Karen is his first girlfriend since starting college. She's brave, cute, and someone he really loves. While he's lying there, thinking about her, his phone buzzes. He grabs it to check but realizes it's not his, it's Karen's phone. At first, he thinks it might be his mom, but he remembers he already told her he'd be out for the night. Things get weird when he sees a message from a guy named Daku. The guy is asking Karen how she's doing and if she's free to meet. Yukun is shocked. He opens her phone to check the messages. Karen had told Daku she just got there and said she wanted to meet him, too. Yukun can't believe it. He's furious and confused, wondering who this guy is and why Karen is talking to him. As he keeps scrolling, Yukun sees Daku saying he's happy and asking Karen if she'd be his. Yukun recognizes the name Kamakura Tetsuya, a senior from his high school. Kamakura is dating Tuko Sakurajima, the most beautiful girl in their university. But here he is, messaging Karen. Yukun keeps reading their messages and realizes Karen has been meeting Kamakura once a week. Yukun feels betrayed. He can't understand why this guy, who already has Tuko, also wants Karen. Angry and hurt, he leaves the hotel. Karen comes out of the shower, ready to continue their evening, but Yukun is already gone. As Yukun walks, he starts piecing things together. He remembers how Karen used to make excuses to avoid spending time with him. She'd say she had plans with friends, was meeting her mom, or had to finish a school report. Now it's clear those were all lies. She was using those excuses to meet Kamakura. While walking, Yukun gets lost in his thoughts and accidentally bumps into someone. The guy he bumps into yells at him to watch where he's going, and his girlfriend looks startled. Yukun doesn't say much and just keeps walking. He walks far away from the hotel to clear his mind. Eventually, he sits down by the river, trying to process everything. He thinks about Kamakura and can't believe a guy with such a beautiful girlfriend would still cheat. Then an idea hits him. If they did this to him, maybe it's fair to give them a taste of their own medicine. Feeling a spark of revenge, he pulls out his phone and calls Tuko Sakurajima at nearly 11 p.m. She's working on some notes when she answers. Yukun tells her what's going on and what he's thinking, though it's clear he's acting out of frustration. Later, Yukun meets his friend Ishida Yuta and explains everything. Ishida is shocked. He asks if Yukun has lost his mind, especially since he involved Tuko, the campus queen, in this mess. Yukun tries to explain, saying he only found out about Karen's cheating and didn't know how to handle it. Ishida feels bad for him. He asks about Tuko, and Yukun says he apologized to her right away for dragging her into it. She asked him why he said such a crazy thing, knowing he wasn't the type to act like that. At first, Yukun didn't want to explain, but she insisted. Eventually, he told her everything, venting his anger and frustration while crying. He wasn't sure if she'd understand, but she listened to him until the end. She told him to calm down and reassured him that they'd talk more the next day. She also told him not to share this with anyone else for now. Ishida listens carefully and says he's glad Yukun shared it with him since they're best friends. Ishida jokes about wondering why Yukun called him in the middle of the night but says it's good that he got everything off his chest. Ishida promises not to tell anyone and says Yukun doesn't have to handle this alone. Then, teasingly, he asks Yukun to cover the cost of the steak he ordered this late. Ishida asks what Yukun plans to do next, but Yukun admits he has no idea. Ishida asks if he'll try to be with Tuko, but Yukun says no, it wouldn't be right. Ishida agrees, saying he figured Yukun wouldn't go through with it. Then Ishida asks if Yukun has proof to show Tuko that her boyfriend is cheating. Yukun shows him screenshots of the messages he saved on his phone. Ishida feels bad, saying it must have been painful to read all that. He asks how Yukun got into Karen's phone, and Yukun admits he used her ex's birthday as the pin. Ishida gets mad, saying he won't judge Yukun for what he did, but he should think carefully about the best way and time to show the proof to Tuko. Even calm people can lose it in situations like this, and they need to be careful. The next day starts. Yukun is sitting in the cafeteria, drinking juice. He looks at the time on his watch and realizes it's almost time to meet Sakurajima at the cafe, which is far from the university. He hopes it's okay. He starts worrying because it would be bad if anyone sees them meeting alone at a cafe far from school. Everyone knows that Toko-senpai and Kamakura are a famous couple at the university. But then, he grinds his teeth. He wonders why he has to worry about it. He's not the one at fault. After waiting a long time, Sakurajima finally shows up. She apologizes for making him wait. She tells him she arrived 5 minutes ago and sits down in front of him. Yukuen feels awkward. He apologizes to her for what happened yesterday. He says it was in the heat of the moment, and that's why he said some crazy things. Sakurajima says there's no need to worry, and she wants to hear about Tetsuya and Karen's affair. Yukuen explains everything. She asks him if he has proof to back up his story. Yukuen looks at her and notices she's calm. He wonders if it's the right time to show the proof, but then he tells himself that he'll be okay. He shows her the pictures of their conversations. Sakurajima looks at them for a while. After realizing Yukuen is telling the truth, she puts the phone down on the table. She thanks him for showing it to her. She says it looks like it's real, and she hates just sitting here and accepting it. She asks if that's why he asked her to do the same with them. Yukuen apologizes because he can't do it. Sakurajima says she can't do it either, and she gives him 3 reasons. The first one is that she doesn't know if it's real evidence of their relationship. Yukuen gets angry and says he has the pictures of the messages they sent each other. Sakurajima replies that she's been told lies before by people trying to ruin her relationship. She doesn't think Karen can pull off something that complicated. Then she gives the second reason. If she and Yukuen were having a relationship, there wouldn't be any reason to blame them. She says if the relationship is real, then she'll break up with Tetsuya, but she doesn't want Yukuen to say that she also had a relationship. Yukuen listens to her and says he understands. She asks if he isn't frustrated having to deal with all of this. Yukuen says he is, and he doesn't want things to be like this. Then she mentions her third reason. She says she can't forgive Tetsuya easily. She wants to make him regret this until he wants to come back to her. Even if he breaks up with her, he'll still be with Karen, so she wants him to regret it so much that he'll never even think about it again. After saying all this, she apologizes to Yukuen for getting carried away. Then she tells him she wants real proof first. Yukuen asks angrily what she means by real proof, and she says she wants a photo of them going to a hotel and spending the night together. Yukuen asks if she's thinking of taking this to court, and she explains that Tetsuya lives with his brother, so they can only meet at a hotel. Yukuen says that would limit the frequency of their meetings, and she must have noticed that in the message history. Sakurajima says she can't just calmly check like that. She asks how he can talk about payback with that kind of attitude. She explains that they know for sure they've met 3 times since Karen mentioned seeing him once a week. The dates match, too. She finishes classes late, then there's summer vacation, and weekends. They seem to prioritize those times. They don't want anyone to ask where they're going, so they definitely didn't do anything during the summer break. Yukuen is impressed by her after hearing this, and he says she's like a detective. She says the chances are high on Mondays or Thursdays, and she'll be looking into Tetsuya's schedule. They can't act rashly because if they do, Karen will find out. Then she asks him to tell her if Karen mentioned any place she didn't go with him or if she doesn't want to be with him. Sakurajima tells him to use a social network to stay in touch, and warns him to be careful with his research. They can't act on it until they're sure. She says if they're going to be together, they need undeniable proof. She also tells him that it doesn't mean she's not going to be loyal to him and that he shouldn't misunderstand her. Yukuen stays silent for a moment, thinking about how strong she is. He was making a mess and saying terrible things yesterday. Then she tells him she wants to believe in Tetsuya, which is why she needs to see it with her own eyes. Yukuen realizes there's no way she's calm. They've both been betrayed by someone they care about, someone they were supposed to trust. But even in this situation, Tuko-senpai stays strong instead of crying or getting upset. Yukuen tells himself not to be a coward and that he needs to support her. They both get up and leave. Yukuen thanks her for everything, finally opening his eyes. He hopes they'll get along as friends. She says it sounds good and shakes his hand, saying it will be a pleasure to be with him. Yukuen feels like he's not alone. He has senpai's support, but they need to get things ready first. If they're not prepared, the lies will keep coming up. They remind themselves they need solid proof before they can move forward and confront them. Yukuen met Karen in a club right after joining the university. He once told her that their eyes met a lot, but he wasn't sure if it was just him or if she noticed too. Karen then told him it wasn't just him, that she liked him a little too. He got drawn to her and thought she felt the same way. He believed she was the one for him. 3 months ago, Yukuen and Karen were at an arcade playing a game. He tried to win a teddy bear for her, and after a few tries, he finally got it. She was really impressed, and he told her that he was pretty good at winning. Karen thought it was cute and thanked him for getting the teddy bear. While walking home from the arcade, Yukuin thought maybe it would have been better if she had a bag to carry it in, but she said it was fine. She kept playing with the bear, and Yukuin thought Karen must have always dreamed of going home from the arcade with something they won. Since he wasn't good at claw machines, he couldn't win one himself, but she was always thankful for what he could get her. Seeing her happy made him happy too. She asked where they were going next, and he told her they were going for dinner. She said that as long as she was with Yukuin, everything was fun. When he started university, it was all about finding out who would win the title of Miss Judo University. Everyone was so excited about it, and life went on. Yukuin sat with his friends one day, and they teased him, asking if they were a couple. He told them they had misunderstood, asking if they didn't know that university students were supposed to understand the difference between respect and love. One of his friends said that now that he had a girlfriend, he was acting so full of himself, and that they were just jealous. Then his friend said that Karen's parents would be away this weekend, so she wouldn't have to go home. Yukuin thought this meant they would go to a hotel. His friends kept teasing him, and Yukuin thought that this was the happiest time of his life, until he found out that Karen was seeing someone else. Karen met up with him, and they went out. She asked him if he hadn't been cutting corners lately. She said that it was always the same places: arcade, karaoke, and a family restaurant at the end. She asked if he was planning to become a regular there, and he said it made sense since they were students. Karen then got a little angry, saying that she was starting to feel like they were just going on boring dates. She said that other people went on fancier dates, and she couldn't feel any of his efforts to make her happy. Yukuin reminded her that she had once said that as long as she was with him, anywhere would be fun. She said that was true when they first started dating, but things had changed. She told him that he was always the same, and that she felt like she was just being used. She asked if he even cared about her. Yukuin thought about it and realized that recently, she had been looking at her phone a lot when they were together. She had said it was because of a game she was addicted to, but Yukuin wasn't sure anymore. He felt like it was clear who wasn't caring, but he couldn't say it to her. So, he apologized and told her that he got a message saying a friend from his hometown had gotten into an accident, so he had to go. He wasn't trying to make up for anything, but he promised he would make a reservation at a better restaurant next time. Yukuin asked her if she had any other requests, and she said that when someone asks that, it doesn't mean anything anymore. Yukuin agreed, saying he would think of something that would make her happy. He asked how about next Thursday, but Karen said she had a part-time job that day, so he would have to pick another day. Yukuin then met Sakurajima on Thursday. He told her Karen said she had a part-time job, and he asked her what about Tetsuya. Sakurajima said that Tetsuya had told her he was busy, but she wasn't sure yet if they would meet. Yukuin said that it was obvious they would meet, but he could tell she didn't want to face the reality. To change the subject, Yukuin said that it seemed like Karen wasn't interested in him anymore, and Sakurajima asked if something had happened. She also asked if Yukuin even cared about her. Yukuin said that Karen didn't like how their dates had become boring, and Sakurajima asked him where he usually went with Karen. He told her they usually went to a coffee shop, then an arcade or karaoke, sometimes to the movies, and then they walked around the city before having a meal at a family restaurant. Even after all that, Karen said she didn't feel like he cared. Sakurajima thought for a moment and then said that when you're with someone you like, anywhere can be fun. At first, everything is new and fresh, and it feels special, but after a while, when it becomes routine, the excitement fades. She asked if it wasn't natural that this had happened after they'd been going out for a while. Yukuin got upset and said that Karen told him other people went on fancier dates, and he asked her who she thought those people were. Sakurajima told him not to worry about it because, even without considering the unfaithfulness, she felt like Tetsuya was hiding something from her. She stood up and said they needed to make sure, and Yukuin didn't understand what she meant. He asked what they were going to do about it. Sakurajima asked him what he had told Karen, and Yukuin said he wanted to ask her what she was doing, but he didn't want to raise any suspicions. Instead, he told her he would make a reservation at a nice restaurant for her birthday. Sakurajima was surprised and asked when it was, and Yukuin said it was this Saturday. She seemed shocked, so Yukuin asked her what was wrong. She told him she had been invited to stay the night. Yukuin asked if Tetsuya didn't live with his brother, and Sakurajima said he was on a work trip, which was rare. She said he had been stubborn about it. Then she told Yukuin that she hadn't properly answered yet, but if she said no, Tetsuya would call Karen. Sakurajima then decided that they would meet on Saturday, and that would be it for today. Yukuen offered to see her home, but she refused, saying she would get a taxi. She told him to make sure to book the restaurant for lunch and be vague about his evening plans. She also told him to create an opening for himself and walked away. Yukuen thought that Senpai had made up her mind, and he had to face it too. He took out his phone and made a reservation. Meanwhile, Karen was talking to Senpai and thanked him for the necklace, saying she was really happy about it. He said he was glad she liked it. Karen mentioned that he had good taste, unlike Yukuen. She said she would wear it next time they met, and he said he was looking forward to it and wished her good night. Sakurajima overheard the conversation and asked who he was talking to, and he said it was just a friend. Karen, on the other hand, was thinking she should use the necklace stand she wasn't using, so she took it out and put the necklace on it. She placed the stand next to the teddy bear Yukuen had gotten her and thought it was really cute. Yukuen takes Karen to a restaurant he booked for her birthday. Karen asks if this is the place he booked, and he says he wanted to spoil her since it's her birthday. She doesn't react the way he expects, so he asks if she likes it. She says it's not that and suggests they go inside. They sit at their table, and the manager asks if they want something to drink. Yukuen orders, but Karen asks why he only ordered one glass. She says they're underage and would prefer if, as her boyfriend, he ordered a whole bottle with a presentation, like one from the year she was born. Yukuen laughs it off, saying he's not that fancy, but Karen rudely disagrees. He asks what she just said, and she brushes it off. He thinks it's hard to make things right once she goes quiet. She's acting more difficult today, and he apologizes, telling her he got her a present. Just then, the manager brings their drinks, and Karen says it's really good, so now she's looking forward to the primo piatto. Yukuen asks what that is, and she explains that in an Italian meal, the first course is antipasto, then comes the primo piatto with pasta, followed by the second piatto with the main dish, and finally, dolce for dessert. She says the primo piatto takes time, so they should eat the antipasto first. She also explains that in Japanese meals, rice is served last, but in Italy, it comes with the main course. Yukuen is impressed and asks how she knows all that. She says it's obvious, but adds that he doesn't seem to know anything. Yukuen thinks it sounds like something someone else told her. Maybe he's just overthinking, but if he hadn't noticed things earlier, he'd probably think it was cute and let it slide. Karen then mentions that the main course might not be as good as expected and suggests French food would have been better. Yukuen tells himself not to overthink it, like Senpai said this could be a misunderstanding or just a prank. He decides to trust her for her birthday and enjoy the night. The manager brings dessert, and Karen asks if she can order a cannolo. She explains that it's an Italian fried sweet, and this place is famous for it. Yukuen says she sure knows a lot and asks if she's been here before. Karen says she saw it in a magazine, trying to cover up. Yukuen orders it for her and says he's going to show her a present. She opens it and finds a wallet. Yukuen says she mentioned wanting it before, and she thanks him. He thinks her smile is the same as before and wonders if she's being selfish. But if he looks at it as the other side of love, maybe he misunderstood. Yukuen asks what her plans are after this. Karen says her friends from her hometown are coming to celebrate, so she has to head home. Yukuen thinks he already knows and texts Sakurajima that he just split up with Karen and is heading to Kinshicho. Sakurajima says she'll keep Tetsuya occupied for a bit longer. Yukuen rents a car and picks her up. He asks how the apartment looks, and Karen says no one's been in or out since she arrived. Yukuen asks about Kamakura-senpai, and she says his microwave is broken, so he's out buying a new one. Yukuen then says if they met up right after she left, they'd already be here. She says she doesn't know and suggests they take it easy tomorrow, as it's a day off. Yukuen wonders if that's really the case, and Sakurajima hands him a sandwich, since it looks like they'll be here a while. They wait in the car, and Yukuen asks if they'll really show up. Sakurajima tells him to focus. They move to the back seat to get a better view, and Sakurajima takes out a camera she borrowed from a friend. Yukuen says her phone is fine, but she wants better pictures to make sure she wins. He wonders what Senpai plans to do if they get proof. They keep watching and eventually see a shadow approaching the car. Karen tells Tetsuya the bar is boring, and she doesn't go there often, but today's special because it's her birthday. Yukuen tells Sakurajima to start filming them, capturing every moment they're close. He thinks it's proof, but Sakurajima says it's not enough. Yukuen gets angry and tells her to face the reality of the situation. Sakurajima says they need more proof. Just this could be explained away as just having tea together or looking a certain way from the angle. They need to show they were in that room for at least 2 hours. Sakurajima says she'll do the rest and tells Yukuen he can go home. He says he'll stay a bit longer because they need to be thorough. Sakurajima asks if he was with Karen during the day and what they did. Yukuen says they ate different things, and he gave her a designer wallet. They also walked around shops and went to the arcade. Sakurajima asks if there's an Italian restaurant in Shibuya, and Yukuen shows her a picture of it. He says it's famous for cannoli, and Karen told him about it. Sakurajima says Tetsuya took her there before, and they enjoyed it. Yukuen asks why she started dating Tetsuya and if it's true that he was popular in high school when he was in the band at the school festival. Sakurajima says Tetsuya could get attention from anyone, no matter their gender. She says she felt like she couldn't compare back then, but people shouldn't choose others just because they're famous. She liked how Tetsuya approached her, and although she rejected him at first, she eventually gave in. She says he's a lonely person, always at the center of attention but without anyone really supporting him. That's why she wanted to be there for him. Sakurajima then asks Yukuen if Karen is cute, since she's also popular. Yukuen asks if she's not the top beauty at their university. Sakurajima says that being beautiful and cute are different. Cute girls are more popular with guys. Yukuen doesn't know who would win, and Sakurajima tells him the cute one will win because beauty is about a face without faults, but cute appeals to people's hearts. She says that since middle school, she's been called beautiful, but cute girls always outshined her. Yukuen says she's not losing at all, but she says she wants to be cute too, though she has her personality. She starts to cry. Yukuen can't stand seeing her upset, so he hugs her, telling her it's not weird. He's always thought she was cool, reliable, and strong, and he apologizes for never saying so before. He tells her it's okay to lean on others sometimes. Yukuen thinks Senpai has been hurt more than him. He's sure about it. All he can do is tell her to forget about Tetsuya. He promises to protect her, and she says that if it's him, she trusts him. She asks him to always be there for her, while he holds her trembling shoulders and steels himself to protect her. He tells her they should stay together tonight, and everything fades into the darkness of the night. Yukuen tells his best friend everything that happened, and his friend can't believe it. His friend asks if Yukuen really stayed at the apartment until the last train, with Senpai crying, and then saw her off to her house. Yukuen says that's what any decent person would do. Then he tells his friend that Tuko Senpai isn't just some girl to conquer. There's no way he'd take advantage of her when she's vulnerable. His friend says real women are a real pain when it comes to that. Just then, some other friends show up. Nakazaki-san approaches them and asks if she can sit with them, since they're also about to eat lunch. Ishida says it's fine, and Nakazaki asks if it's okay here even though it's a bit far. Meanwhile, Yukuen is glaring at her with anger, and then Nakazaki says she was looking for them. She asks them to make the leaflets for the refreshment booth for next month's school festival. Ishida asks if it's not the second year Suzuki-senpai's job to do that. The guy says his girlfriend was cheating on him, so he's not going to make them. Nakazaki says she just switched to a better guy. Ishida says it's exactly because his mind is in pieces after being dumped. Tetsuya says that's a harsh way to put it, and there's no need to be like that. He says that to pass on superior genes, males pursue many females, and the females pick the best ones. This is what's called survival of the fittest. Yukuen says humans have a sense of ethics and morals. Tetsuya says there's nothing more ambiguous than ethics, and asks Yukuen if he's heard of something in game theory. He talks about how two prisoners are interrogated in isolated rooms. If both stay silent, they serve 2 years. If one confesses, the one who confesses is released, but the silent one serves 10 years. If both confess, they both serve 5 years. The prisoners debate whether to stay silent or confess. One of them asks if it's better to confess, to avoid serving 10 years for staying silent, because love is the same. If the partner is going to be disloyal, then the other might as well be too. However, if betrayal isn't handled properly, it just leads to more problems. Nakazaki tells Tetsuya to stop, saying he gets misunderstood when he talks like this. Tetsuya says pioneers and game changers are always seen as enemies by the masses. Yukuen says he didn't expect him to justify it so boldly. Yukuen is getting angry because Tetsuya's way of thinking is just messed up. Yukuen and Ishida leave. Ishida says he's really looking forward to seeing what happens next. He asks Yukuen if this isn't going to make Tetsuya regret his actions, especially since Tuko-senpai witnessed the disloyalty. All that's left is to go ahead with it. Yukuen says Tetsuya hasn't given any details yet. Senpai said that if they were to be like Tetsuya, it would be better to confront them with solid evidence. Ishida says it's just him, but when Yukuen finally gets conclusive evidence, how would Tetsuya react if he saw Toko-senpai being stolen away right in front of him by another man? Ishida smiles and says it'll be a masterpiece to see the unflappable Tetsuya lose it. He tells Yukuen that it's a good chance to heal old wounds with a new one and encourages him to go for it. Yukuen says it's not a game. He goes home and checks his old messages with Karen. He wonders if she thinks his feelings are fading. He remembers she told him on her birthday that she was meeting her friends from her hometown. He's fed up and doesn't know what to do. He still hasn't said anything. He keeps thinking and then calls Senpai to ask something. He asks about the trip, and Karen says it might be during next month's long weekend. She mentions that Tetsuya said he might go on a trip with a buddy from his middle school club but wasn't specific. It seems like Karen is more into it. Sakurajima says she thinks so too. She says since she found out Tetsuya isn't loyal, she has no intention of keeping the relationship going. Yukuen says he feels the same way. So, about the plan they talked about, they'll do it on Christmas Eve. Yukuen asks if she's planning to do it after 2 months and whether that's fast or slow. He asks for more details, and she says the first thing is to make him fall for her even more, to the point that he becomes dependent on her. Then she'll wait until he can't stand being apart from her, and she'll strike when it hurts the most. Yukuen asks if that's on Christmas Eve, and she asks if he knows his circle is throwing a party that day. He says he heard rumors that they go all out every year, even before entering university. They book a whole restaurant for it. She says that at this party, she'll expose the disloyalty and announce that their relationship is over. She thinks both Tetsuya and Karen are sensitive to what people think of them. By doing this, there's no bigger reward for them. She says she'll talk to him more about it tomorrow and ends the call. Yukuen thinks Sakurajima came up with something even harsher than he expected. Just like Senpai said, Karen's need for social approval is strong, and Kamakura Senpai is also quite prideful. He thinks that if this works, they'll cause a lot of damage. After thinking for a bit, he motivates himself and says he'll make them regret it so much that they'll wish they never got together. The next day, Yukuen shows the draft for the leaflet to Nakazaki-san. Nakazaki-san appreciates his work and asks if this is his first school festival. Yukuen says it's fun, and he's looking forward to it. While they're talking, Tetsuya enters the room and tells Nakazaki-san that the next class is cancelled, so they should go eat. Nakazaki tells Yukuen he'll leave now, and Yukuen tells Tetsuya that their conversation earlier was interesting. He says it's true that those who betray may benefit, but the prisoner's situation assumes that cooperation benefits both sides. Yukuen says that if it were him, he'd choose to cooperate, and Tetsuya says that's just how it is. Everyone has their own view of righteousness as they embarrass themselves. At university, Sakurajima asks Tetsuya where he's going with his club buddies on their trip. He says nothing is decided yet, but it might happen. She gets a bit serious and he asks if she doesn't like the idea of him going. He tells her if that's the case, he'll cancel. She says it's not that, just curious, and tells him not to worry about it. She says he can go and enjoy himself, and he tells her she's really sweet. Sakurajima waits for Yukuen, but he's late. When he shows up, he apologizes and brings her a coffee. She offers to pay him back, but he says it's no big deal and that he should thank her for picking such a nice spot. She says she'll consider it alone, and they sit down together. She then mentions that if they're too close to the university, people might see them. Yukuen thinks she's being careful. She tells him 2 things are bothering her about Christmas Eve, and Yukuen asks what they are. She says most of the members will attend the party, and she's worried about what revealing things might do to the event. She asks him if that's okay, and he says he's been thinking the same thing. That's why they'll use a secret reveal. Sakurajima asks what that means, and he explains it's for things like unrequited love confessions or joking breakups. They'll make it part of the event. She agrees they shouldn't discuss it beforehand, so they'll need to plan carefully. She then asks how they should prepare, and he says they'll figure it out. Then she asks if he's friends with Ishida-kun, and he says they'd known each other since middle school. She says that's exactly what they need. She asks if he can invite Ishida next time, and he wonders if she really wants to involve him. She says not just Ishida, but also a friend she trusts. Yukuen asks who it is, and she tells him it's a girl named Kanu from the economics department, someone from a different high school. She plans to bring her into their group. Yukuen asks what she's trying to do, and she says they'll increase their allies so no matter what Tetsuya and Karen-san do on Christmas Eve, they can handle it. Yukuen wonders if it'll go that smoothly, especially with Karen being popular with boys and Tetsuya with girls. She tells him they need to prepare and talk to both of them. Yukuen agrees to try talking to Ishida. She asks about his other concern, and he says he's not sure about Tetsuya, but it'll be hard to make Karen depend on him. He adds that it's his problem, not hers. She says it's a big problem because it could solve half of their issue. Yukuen understands but seems discouraged. She asks if he's not confident, and he says no. Just looking at their messages makes him feel like her feelings are fading. Sakurajima puts her coffee down and asks to see the messages. He shows them to her, and she notices it's been 3 months since they started dating. She says it's around the time when things start cooling off. She asks him how he felt about Karen before all of this, and he says that she was his first girlfriend, and even when she was a little selfish, he didn't mind. He admits he was crazy about her, but the pain of being betrayed won't go away quickly. Yukuen says he's only talking about feelings, not excusing Karen's behavior. Sakurajima thinks about it for a moment and then says, if he thought it wasn't something he could bear, wouldn't there have been times she felt the same way? All those little things probably added up. It's the same with her and Tetsuya. If they don't do something soon, Karen-san could just drift away and things might end naturally. Then Sakurajima asks Yukuen why he thinks Karen is still with him and hiding her disloyalty. She's sure not being public with Tetsuya is part of it, but she should know she's at risk if it gets exposed while she has a boyfriend. Even so, if she still tries to say Ishiki-kun is the one on the surface, maybe Yukuen can turn things around. Yukuen asks what she means by doing it right, and she tells him that if he doesn't like it, he should back out. Then she talks about the trip, saying Karen-san is all set to go, but Tetsuya seems unsure. She's sure he'd cancel if she said she didn't like it. She wonders what would happen if she told him to come over no matter what the day before the trip. Then she says when Karen is disappointed about the trip, she was hoping it would get cancelled last minute. If Yukuen is kind to her, Karen might change her mind. Sakurajima tells Yukuen they're not fighting alone, they're in this together. Yukuen laughs, and she tells him not to laugh because it's embarrassing. He apologizes and says he's just happy to have her on his side. She asks what he means, but he changes the subject, saying he'll do his best. She says that's the spirit and that should motivate him. Sakurajima tells him this is a good setup to throw Karen off, and the rest is just fine-tuning himself. She says if he only consoles her, it might feel expected. This is especially true for attention-seeking people like Karen. Yukuen agrees that girls are a pain, but Sakurajima says it's not just that personal relationships are a pain, no matter the gender. He apologizes for saying that, and she asks if they can take a walk together. As they walk, Sakurajima stretches to relieve some muscle pain and says it feels great. She enjoys the weather and wishes it could always be like this. Yukuen asks how he should fine-tune himself like she mentioned earlier. She says Karen-san is the type who cares about the opinions of the group, but Yukuen still doesn't get it. She gives him an example. If other girls say her boyfriend is great and they're jealous of their relationship, she'll want to keep him. Yukuen still doesn't get it, so she explains that he should aim to be liked by the group, focusing on the girls. He says he's not popular and struggles with Karen, so how could he make other girls like him? Sakurajima tells him she's not saying he should make them fall for him just to have others say her boyfriend is great. The more he understands this, the easier it will be. She asks him what kind of person he thinks is liked, and he lists someone who's handsome, athletic, tall, kind, and a good conversationalist. Yukuen says that sounds like Tetsuya, and she laughs, saying that's a mess. He explains he said that because Tetsuya is the image of someone popular to him. She explains that everyone has a different idea of what makes someone popular, and even height is subjective. Yukuen gets it and apologizes. She says being a good conversationalist is something he could work on. Yukuen says he can't be the center of attention, but she tells him she doesn't mean he should be a celebrity. She just wants him to listen to others, understand what they want, and respond accordingly. She believes he can do it. Then she says they'll start tomorrow. She advises him to listen closely to others, figure out what they want, and respond. Yukuen asks her again what exactly he should do. She says that's enough advice for now and reminds him that they're comrades in this. She's the one making the plan, so that's a bit unfair. Yukuen asks again what he can do for her. This time, she whispers something, and he asks why she's saying it so quietly. She angrily tells him to listen the first time. Then she tells him all she wants is for him to teach her how to be a cute girl. Yukuen can't believe it, and she says she has to meet Senpai's expectations. Sakurajima wants Yukuen to teach her how to be cute. Yukuen looks at her and says that her expression right now is the cutest. Sakurajima doesn't get why he's so happy, so she asks him what's so funny. She gets mad, and he asks her if she's sure she wants him to teach her. He says he doesn't think his opinion would be helpful. Sakurajima says she's asking because it's him. She wants him to summarize the main points in more than 5 pages but less than 10. She tells him that if he gets an AC, he'll have to redo it. Yukuen wonders why she wants him to write an essay. He thinks the thing she said was cute, but he bets she wouldn't get it if he told her. He says he'll try to gather his thoughts, and she says she's got high hopes for him. As he thinks about it, she's sparkling, and he wonders if he's making a promise he can't keep. Yukuen gets home and tries calling his girlfriend Karen, but she doesn't pick up. He remembers how she used to say couples should call every night. That's why he's calling her now. He tries again later, and this time she answers. He says it's him, Yukuen, and she angrily says she knows who it is from the caller ID and asks what he wants. Yukuen thinks she's in a bad mood and asks why she didn't pick up earlier, but she doesn't answer. Then she tells him she's going to sleep and hangs up. Yukuen thinks she was already asleep, but really, she's with Tetsuya. Before hanging up, he asks her if they didn't promise to call every night. She says he doesn't need to anymore. Sitting with Tetsuya on her bed, she says they've been together for 3 months now, and they both have their own plans. She doesn't want to be bothered. Yukuen asks if talking to him is a bother. She says it's not, but calling every day feels like surveillance, and she doesn't like feeling trapped. She says if it keeps going like this, she might end up hating him. Yukuen thinks it's ironic. Karen asks if he's done, saying her head hurts and she needs to sleep. They both say goodnight, and she hangs up instantly. The next day, Yukuen tells Sakurajima and Kanza Kazumi everything. Kazumi says since Karen was so rude, she was definitely with Tetsuya that night. Sakurajima angrily tells Kazumi to stop saying that. Kazumi apologizes and says that no matter how she looks at it, Yukuen's too vulnerable. Yukuen says sorry to Kazumi and thinks she's exactly like Senpai's friend. Sakurajima apologizes and says Kazumi doesn't always say nice things. Kazumi says there's no point in feeling sorry now and asks if they can order food. Sakurajima says, as Kazumi suggested, it's better for him not to contact Karen when she might be with Tetsuya. She also says that saying she's sleeping or her head hurts is a typical excuse. Kazumi adds that the goal is to break up with Karen when she's most attached to Yukuen, and forgetting that would be a big mistake. She says they're not doing the usual love game. They need to be careful with every word and action or it won't work. Ishida asks if he can help and Kazumi warns him to be careful. After that, she asks Sakurajima what she wants them to do. Sakurajima says she wants them to make an expose at the Christmas party. She wants to create the right atmosphere for everyone's reaction. Ishida says that's basically telling everyone about Tetsuya and Karen's secrets. Sakurajima says she doesn't need to go that far, she just wants to spread the info within their circle. Ishida says they need to connect with potential allies. Yukuen is surprised he got it so quickly. Ishida explains that an expose is revealing their plan, and if their circle isn't united, the response might be shaky. Yukuen wants to avoid arguments on the spot. Kazumi says they need allies who can say a few words to rally everyone. Sakurajima wants to leave it to them. Kazumi smiles and says they should try their best, and asks Ishida if he's in. He says, of course, and he won't sit idle while his best friend is made a fool of. Sakurajima thanks him, and Kazumi says she won't be satisfied until she gets her shot at them. Kazumi is straightforward, and the meeting goes smoothly under the girls' leadership. What was unexpected, though, was Ishida joining the serious conversation. Ishida says Tuko-senpai is amazing, and he's feeling good. He wonders why Tetsuya isn't loyal to such a great girl and says he'd regret it forever. Yukuen says Tetsuya's values are beyond him, and Ishida agrees. Ishida says he was worried when he heard Karen wasn't loyal because when Yukuen gets mad, he tends to stop thinking. He wasn't sure what would happen if Yukuen got violent. He says he doesn't want to go through that, and Yukuen apologizes for making him worry. Ishida says he's relieved Yukuen is more rational than he thought, and thanks God for Tuko. Yukuen says he's glad he's not alone. Ishida says they should stop, though, because disloyalty in a relationship can't be solved with just one decision. The person being cheated on either resents or forgets, but the wound doesn't heal easily. Getting revenge won't help, and even if they succeed, Tetsuya and Karen will resent them. He thinks Yukuen should move on and forget about it. However, he jokingly says getting closer to Tuko-senpai isn't a bad idea, and he really hopes things go well for them. Ishida says being alone isn't enough, and Yukuen should confront Tetsuya and Karen. Ishida will be an accomplice. Yukuen says he's about to cry, and Ishida says at least don't cry on the train. In class, Yukuen and everyone agree to do it tonight. He remembers Sakurajima telling him his appearance matters more than anything he says. She says people in their department don't care about looks, but wearing old, worn-out clothes makes him look sloppy. She's not telling him to buy expensive clothes, just to look good with normal stuff. Yukuen says he knows nothing about fashion, and she says they'll choose clothes together because they need to make Karen notice. They go shopping, and Yukuen is overwhelmed by all the choices. He's not sure what to pick. Sakurajima tells him not to overthink it, and if he buys anything there, he'll be fine. He asks if she means the outfits on the mannequins, and he's not sure about wearing the same thing. She says the outfits are designed to be wearable by anyone. She picks a shirt for him and thinks he'll look good in it. He tries it on, but she says it's too formal and picks out a more casual combination for him. She says it fits well and tells him it should be enough. Yukuen ends up buying 3 outfits. Sakurajima says they're all versatile, so if he doesn't combine them strangely, it'll work. If he's unsure, he can just stick to how they tried them on. She says if he buys more, it's safer to go for simple things without patterns. She warns him to avoid thrift shops since it's hard to tell what's old. She offers to help if he has any doubts, and Yukuen says she knows a lot about fashion. She says she's a girl, and she studied it like anyone else would. Yukuen says it shows since she picked clothes for him so easily. She tells him not to overthink it and not to tell anyone. Then she reveals she used to model for a magazine. She picked up tips from the business, and Yukuen isn't surprised. He asks if she's still modeling, and she says no because it affected her daily life too much. She asks him to keep it a secret since she hasn't told Tetsuya. Yukuen says it's fine and asks if there are other cute girls around her. She says no, but she wants to know what makes a girl cute from a guy's point of view, not just about looks. Yukuen says he doesn't really get the difference, and she reminds him not to forget to submit his essay. He asks if the sampling would be enough with just feelings and thinks it'd be better to ask friends or check online. Sakurajima tells him not to search the internet. Yukuen stays quiet, and she asks if he's really going to do it. He says he won't, and she says she might be doomed. Yukuen looks up what makes a cute girl on the internet to help Sakurajima. He reads through several articles but then realizes he probably shouldn't be looking it up here. If it was something easy to find, she wouldn't have asked him to help. She just wants to know his thoughts on what makes someone cute, so he starts thinking about it. To him, a person is cute if they're both beautiful and kind. They're usually well put together, but it's cute when they panic or get impatient. As he thinks about it, he catches himself imagining her and tells himself that he's only doing this because she asked him to. He also thinks someone could be cute if they're good at cooking or family-oriented, someone who depends on him. He imagines her again, so he tells himself to stop and apologizes for thinking about her without her permission. When he says sorry, his mom walks in and asks if he's okay. He tells her he's fine, and she reminds him to close the door as she's heading out to work. He tells her to take care and says that her sudden entrance startled him. After that, he checks his phone and sees that Ishida is asking if he's free today and if he wants to join him at a second-hand shop in Shibuya. Yukuen agrees because he thinks it'll be a good break. They go out shopping, and Ishida finally finds the clothes he was looking for. Yukuen comments that it looks like Ishida's having fun, but Ishida notices his mood and asks if he's okay. Yukuen brushes it off, saying it's nothing, but Ishida insists on hearing it. Yukuen asks him what he thinks makes a girl cute. Ishida is confused by the question but answers that it has to do with looks. If someone's cute, they have to be beautiful. He thinks it's great when someone is called the best in school. He mentions that Senpai fits both those categories and is very confident. Yukuen agrees that Senpai is confident too. Ishida says it's also cute when someone can change their emotions depending on the situation. He jokes about blonde hair and twin tails being the best, and Yukuen imagines Senpai in twin tails. Ishida goes on about how he'd like a girl in a band, and Yukuen thinks Senpai would look great playing the violin. Ishida also mentions a childhood friend or an unrelated sister situation being exciting, though he admits that's going too far. He says he has no problem with animal ears, and Yukuen imagines Senpai with cat ears. Ishida adds that he can't forget about magical girls, and he prefers morning anime over night shows. Yukuin is lost at this point and asks what Ishida's talking about. Ishida explains he's talking about what makes a cute girl. Yukuin instantly regrets asking but admits he's been daydreaming too. Ishida then asks if he prefers a magical girl or one with animal ears, saying he doesn't discriminate. Yukuin says he doesn't care about Ishida's preferences but doesn't want to deal with the little sister type since Meika-chan would be upset. Ishida laughs and says he prefers an older sister, but then he remembers that Meika's been worried about Yukuin, noticing that he's been a bit down. Yukuin says he hasn't seen her in a while, and Ishida says Meika really likes him. Ishida then suggests that after the Christmas party, Yukuin should come over to his house. He's sure Meika would be happy to see him. Ishida leaves to pay for his shopping, and Yukuin notices the sale board and realizes Christmas Eve is still a month and a half away. He thinks about how October is already over and feels like he's just following along with the plan Senpai came up with. He doesn't feel like he's making any progress and realizes he can't just keep responding to Senpai's moves. He needs to change his mindset. Ishida suddenly taps him on the shoulder, asking him to look at something. Yukuin looks over and sees Tetsuya walking with a girl. Ishida points out that she looks like someone 2 years ahead of them and says she doesn't appear much in their circle. Yukuin agrees with him, but he can tell there's some distance between Tetsuya and the girl, though it seems a bit off when viewed from behind. Yukuin is confused by Ishida's comment, so Ishida explains that he thinks this could be proof of something. They notice there's a hotel nearby, which makes Yukuin even angrier. He's determined to expose Tetsuya no matter what. Soon after, Yukuin gets a message from Karen saying she's going to the movies with a friend and that he can go home first. He immediately thinks she's meeting Tetsuya today as well. He wonders if Karen knows Tetsuya has other girls but tells himself it doesn't matter because he's still going to do what he plans. He remembers Sakurajima told him the trip they're taking is next month's first weekend, 2 days and 1 night. He realizes it's at the same time as the school festival, and although their circle has a booth, many third years won't be there, so it won't attract attention. Sakurajima is sure that Karen will say she's not feeling well to cover up the trip. Sakurajima says Yukuin should hear from Karen soon and asks if he's ready for this. She cheerfully says Karen will be going on the trip without any doubts. Yukuin tells her not to worry, assuring her he understands. Sakurajima says she'll stop Tetsuya the day before, as they planned, and when Karen gets up last minute, she'll contact him right away. Yukuin asks her why she thinks Karen will reach out, and Sakurajima explains that Karen will likely be frustrated with Tetsuya for not prioritizing her and won't feel comfortable talking about it with her friends. So, there's a high chance she'll contact Yukuin instead. Yukuin agrees that it makes sense, as long as he's not dealing with a 3-timing situation. Sakurajima then tells him that if Karen contacts him, he should be kind and supportive, even if it's just over text. He needs to make Karen feel like he's the one she can always rely on. Yukuin acknowledges how convenient that is and agrees. Sakurajima says Karen thinks of Yukuin as more convenient because, if anything goes wrong with Tetsuya, she knows she can turn to him. Yukuin asks if he has to be Karen's backup plan, and Sakurajima says yes, but the backup plan can be her lifeline. She says he won't fully understand what it means until he's backed into a corner, but it would be terrible if that lifeline disappeared. That's why he has to make sure Karen always feels safe relying on him. Yukuin understands and agrees. Sakurajima then says that the first step is to make sure everything goes according to plan. Yukuin says they will succeed, and she says the next step is his turn. Yukuin is confused and asks what she means. She reminds him about the essay she asked him to write about what makes someone cute. Yukuin thinks about it and realizes he has no idea how to answer her question. Yukuin wonders if when she asked him how to be cute, she was serious. He doesn't know if he should tell Senpai how he feels, because he thinks she's cute, but saying that out loud might not mean much. He feels like it's better to talk about more than just looks. He doesn't want her to think that's all he notices about her. Yukuin thinks she's a good person. She knows herself well and treats him like a tsundere sometimes. He's thinking it would be nice if she acted like a housewife. He's running out of things to say, and the silence between them is starting to make him nervous. The only thing he can talk about is her looks, but he feels like saying something is better than saying nothing. She is beautiful, and he feels that confidence is something that impresses men. He's unsure of what else to say but mentions her hairstyle, saying it leaves a good impression. He suggests she try 2 twin tails, and she thanks him for the suggestion. Yukuin realizes he messed up when she says he only thinks she's cute. He feels like he should back off and let her leave, but before she does, he asks her to wait. He apologizes, saying those things he said weren't really his thoughts, just general comments. He asks if she give him another chance to say what he truly thinks. Sakurajima says it's fine, and she felt the same way. He assures her he's being serious now and wants to tell her what he really thinks. Sakurajima agrees and says maybe she rushed things too quickly today. She says he can explain again in his own way. Yukuen feels relieved, and she reassures him that everything will be fine. While they're talking, Yukuen gets a text from Karen asking if he remembers the trip she mentioned. She says it's planned for November 6th and 7th. He replies that she should go and have fun. He thinks it's okay to say that. Karen tells him he should also go somewhere because he needs a break, too. Yukuen thinks about what she really means. He wonders if she's asking what he's planning to do, so he tells her he doesn't have any specific plans and just wants to enjoy his first school festival. Karen replies, telling him to have fun for her, and asks him to tell her about it later. Yukuen wonders if he's being too careful with his responses. A week later, Yukuen tells Ishida that the school festival starts tomorrow. Ishida asks about Karen's trip. Yukuen says nothing's moving yet. Ishida asks if he's okay with that. Yukuen says he's just doing what Senpai told him, telling Karen to have fun without asking too many questions about where she's going or who she's with. Apparently, it's best not to ask about souvenirs either. Yukuen shows Ishida the messages and says he's glad Karen didn't get suspicious. Ishida asks what's really going on. Yukuen says the times Karen and Tetsuya meet seem to have increased a lot. Ishida says it's a good thing they're letting their guard down. Yukuen wonders if Sakurajima really stopped Karen's trip like she said. He keeps thinking about it and wonders what kind of tricks she used to make sure Tetsuya didn't go. He realizes that Sakurajima can easily control Tetsuya. Just then, his phone rings, and it's Karen. He picks up, asking what's going on. Karen starts yelling, saying her trip got cancelled last minute. She doesn't know how it happened.